Welcome to NGSS Tests. This is an introductory tutorial for you, the teacher, and how students will use the website. The first thing you want to do once you set up your account is to add a test user account, a test student account. So either click this link to add a student, or come over here to the navigation bar, go Students, add one student. We'll just type in test, and add it into one of your periods. So notice you now have a student account, hasn't logged in yet. We'll come back over here to the home page, and the home page changes based upon new information that you've completed. So the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get your students enrolled, and you're going to have your students do all the work creating their accounts. So for each of your periods, you have an enrollment code. So go ahead and copy this and either post this up to your Google Classroom or your LMS, or you can email it out to each of your period of students. Each enrollment code is different, and it will organize the student by period. So notice we've got the self-enroll. Students can type in their username. Type in their password. Teacher's ID is what it's going to link to your account. And then right here is the enrollment code that's going to sort it into the correct period. This is what the student homepage will look like once they've created their account. It's basically directions on how to go get started. So you come over here and you click on the Assignments tab, and you go Current, and notice the student already has a unit assigned. It's basically Intro to the website. So let's head on back over to the teacher homepage. And you notice right over here, it's talking about your teacher's ID. Right, mine's example, but yours is going to be yours. And that's what the student will use to log in. And right here is talking about the unit sequence. So let's go over to scheduling. Notice our introductory unit has already been scheduled, and we can schedule another unit. So let's schedule protein synthesis and make it for the past. So what's nice is now you get to see exactly what the students will see, but you're logged in as a teacher. So you can actually log in as a student and see it from their point of view, but here's what it looks like from the teacher's point of view. And you can look at the videos, you can see the quizzes, and this is all the steps. Here are the interventions for that unit, and all of this I'm going to discuss in detail for you. So let's go on back over to the student account, and the student's going to watch a video. This is a tutorial on the video. Notice I'm not watching it, so I'm just clicking through. And what many students will do is try to do exactly this. They'll try just to click on through and not try to do any of the learning. They'll try to go as fast as possible. So they can actually do that. But when they get to the tests, of course, now they need to know this information. And of course, they don't get to go and see this information. So click on, and I'm just going to click through, and let's pretend I'm going to not know any of this, and of course I'm totally guessing. Oh, I got some of them right, 20%. And when I click on review, the students presented all the questions that they missed and hints, feedback hints on how to problem solve each question. So they try to learn each question. Notice they did not get a check mark. All right, so now they're going to have to go back into and take this test again and pass it. And so right here would be one example, and I'm going to answer these correctly, so you're going to be able to see that what happens once you get it correct. Perfect, so I got 100%. Now it takes you back over, and the student can see all their test analysis scores. So they go to analysis and test scores, and they can see that this is what the student sees, how they did on the first test, what score they got, what's their highest score, how many times they took it, and then it's all color-coded for them based upon how well they did. Over here's a score breakdown. Notice one of the tests they've got an A, the other test they haven't even done yet, the protein synthesis test. So let's go on over and take a look at the protein synthesis. Oops, over previous, and right there's protein synthesis. And so all the units, now this is where the real learning is, right? This is a real biology topic. So here's where the real learning happens. And notice all the tests or all the units. Notice that all the units start with a pretest. This pretest is the same as the post-test down here, except for the fact that it's not expected that the students know this information. So they're asked to go take the pretest. And what many students are going to do is just click on through. They're not going to try, but there are rewards if the student does well on the pretest. So there is an incentive for them to do well, but a lot of students actually don't know this information. That's why there's educational tutorial videos. But maybe they do know. And then once they've taken the pretest, it ends with these fill-in-the-blank questions. These questions are driving at misconceptions. So typically, the main misconceptions for the unit are going to be asked here to find out if the students are really understanding what's happening. Like most people would answer this question, what actually makes your hair a certain color? Most people are going to say it's your genes. And of course, the answer is proteins. Without using a powerful microscope, how do scientists know the DNA actually codes for a protein? Well, you mutate the DNA. So that would actually be a good, correct answer. And voila, now the student has the next link. Notice they get a check mark, and then they get the next link. They can't go down and take the test yet. It has to go in order. All right, so let's click on the video, and like what many students are going to do, they're not even going to watch the video. And so they'll either click finish or they hit the back button. And notice there's no check mark if you hit the back button. You're going to have to hit refresh. And notice it's really key that the kid did zero learning by clicking. So here's a little quiz on the video. And of course, these quizzes are asking questions that is identical from the video. No thinking is required, no processing. It's a DOK1 level question. And the goal is did you pay attention to the video or not? So let's just get it wrong. All right. And I failed. 0 out of 2 questions. I can go in and review the questions, see my feedback. And what's going to happen is, notice the student got sent back to the protein synthesis video. Yes, they actually regressed. They went backwards. And the reason is because they didn't pay attention. All the answers were in this video and they weren't paying attention, so it's going to make them go back to it, watch it again. So clearly, clicking through was not their solution. So they click, let's pretend they watched the video, they hit finish. Voila, they got the check mark, they go back to the quiz. So let's go and answer it correctly this time. Voila, I got 100%. And it takes me through, and I got a check mark for the quiz, and it takes me on to the next video. And this pattern will keep on continuing. So we'll watch transcription. Oh, I'm lazy, I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to take the quiz. Okay, let's just guess. Nope, not going to be your solution. Nope, none right. Hit review. And notice it takes them back to the transcription video. It doesn't make them go past the protein synthesis quiz because they already got that. They already passed that section. So it's only for each of the topics the quiz is on. And of course, that makes them go back and watch it. And as you can tell, let's go and answer some correctly. Passed it. And this process will just continue down all the way till the test. So we're going to speed things up right here. All right, now once we made it through all the assignments, right, they had to go in order. They couldn't skip. They get their check marks. Now they're down here at the test. So we go and take the test. And you can determine how many times a student can retake a test. But let's say it's unlimited number of times. And so a kid may just go in and guess. And once again, notice I'm showing you worst case scenarios, right? The student trying to prove that they have learned nothing. And I'm going to show you the interventions the website will take. The goal is making the website a learning tool. So they got one right. They'll have to be able to review each of the questions. They get hints. Okay. We have just now failed the protein synthesis test. We took it, but we've not passed it. So we can come over here to our analysis, go to test scores. Notice we've taken both tests. We got one that's not yet, we haven't passed it yet, right? You can see it's color coded. And when the intro to the website, we've already passed. All right, and if we go to our home page, notice we have the home page has changed for the student. The student's no longer told how to use the website. It's now informing the student about metacognition, how they could use this website to learn how they are learning. All right, so here is an example. Notice on the bottom quadrants, the left and the right, it's either going to be low growth or high growth. Low growth means they stayed pretty much the same. High growth is they improved a lot. And then on the y-axis, we have low proficiency and high proficiency. Low proficiency is basically they're not doing well. High proficiency means they learned it really well. So students, their whole goal is to get as many as they can up here in the high growth and high proficiency. It is possible for students to have low growth and high proficiency, and that usually happens when students already knew the information, meaning they did well on that pretest. So here's where they can also use the information. They can click on a link, and it takes them exactly over to what concepts. So protein synthesis basics, they didn't know it. Transcription translation, they got a little bit. Nitrogenous bases, genes, nope. Mutations, no. All right, and then it'll show their test scores over time. After they take it, and retake it, it'll actually show a graph of how they're doing over time. And right here is they can change their pre-assessment questions. All right, let's go on back, and you can take a look at intro to the website, same thing, except for this is really just how to use the website, so it wasn't any concepts that are science-based. So here comes the students. Now they're ready to retake this protein synthesis test. It could be that they studied, or it just could be that they just need to do it. So here's what the website's going to do. The website's going to make them take an intervention. Now, in this case, I'm going to have to take 2 interventions. And the reason why is because I scored really poorly on that test, right? 10%. So it's going to make me do the max amount of interventions. These interventions is almost identical to the idea of studying flashcards. Interventions are just vocabulary. Do you know what this word means? What's this definition? Which word would that be? So here's an example. Translation. Let's just make all these wrong guesses, or just making it up, right? Not paying attention if it's right or wrong, just guessing. So the kid just guessed through. Well, look at me. I did pretty good for scoring guessing. Usually you're not going to pass, but whatever. And then we come over here to the next intervention. And this intervention, notice that one asked a vocab word, and then it asked pick the definition. Here is kind of like the sentence is the definition, and you fill in the blank. Notice you have to pass the intervention in order to go forward. All right, so currently I got 20%. It's not passing, and the student's going to be required to retake it again. So they can't go and take the test until they pass this interventions. It's like forcing the student to study their flashcards prior to taking the test again, because the test asks questions that are at higher DOK levels, 1, 2s, and 3s, but mostly 1s and 2s. And the test most definitely involves problem solving. If you don't know what the words mean, how can you problem solve using those words? So here's where the students are practicing the vocab. Now let's go in and retake the intervention, and let's go and pass it this time. Perfect. Now I could take the test. So I'm going to show you once again. If I go to my assignments, I have not passed it yet. I can come back over here to the protein synthesis test and immediately go and take it. But let's say the student takes it 10 times and they can't pass. So what the student is likely to do is get frustrated, and there's a solution. The student can then come over here and go send you a message. So pick off protein synthesis. They weren't able to pass that one, so they pick the topic. And they're going to say, I can't pass it. Please help. Or they could just say, I don't understand, help me. So basically, it's a very generic message to you. You don't get too much information from their message, what they write. But this drop-down is going to help you out tremendously. Okay, let's go back over to the teacher view. And I'm going to hit refresh. And you notice over here, I got little 1. So I got one message from my student. So I'm going to come over here. Here's student number 1. Here's student number 1, right, from your period. They tell you what the message is. They can't pass it. You can see their test scores. But what's really awesome is you get to see the most recent test questions they took. So here are the questions that were on the test that they missed, all the X's, and this is the answer choices they picked. So now you could start evaluating, what are they not getting? What information do you not understand? And immediately what you can do, the ones with the check marks they got right, is you can now give them feedback, either on a per question basis or in general. But this is where you can give immediate feedback, even if a student just basically says, I don't understand. That doesn't tell you much, but now all of a sudden you can see this. This tells you a lot of what they're not understanding. You can tell if I'm guessing or if there seems to be trends. And of course, you would fill in the information right here. Hit reply. And now that student right here, as you notice, they can come right here. They had number 1, they have a message back from you. And of course, this has the example. And this is what they just said to you. So now they can immediately write you a message back. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So this is what's really nice. Notice you can give targeted feedback that will help the student. Then the student will come over here. I believe the current assignment was, what I want to do is protein synthesis. We come back to the test, and they can start retaking this test and start picking out or problem solving each of the questions. Now, let's go back to the teacher view. Click on the home page, and now notice the home page is very different than before. Prior, it was telling you how to get everything set up. Now, we actually have some data, right? Students have taken some tests. So you can see your most recent scores. You can also see what the teacher's ID is. And of course, what some next steps to do. So, for example, you can take a look at your period scores. Here's protein synthesis. I created that test account. Notice I haven't logged in, so I got no data. But here's student number 1. I can see what their first attempt is. It's color coordinated for you. What their best score is. Number of total attempts. I could change that to intro to the website. I could change per period. I can come in here and take a look at an individual student's test scores. Right? I can see when they took the first test, when they took their best attempt, and what their scores were, how many times they take it. And we could take a look right here at pretest, or just most recent. This is just a list of who's taken the test most recently. Here's your pretest scores. Notice student number 1, the pretest score was a 4. They went down to a 1. This looks like, to me, a lot of guessing. Poor on the growth mindset. All right. Now, click over to reports. And all you can see right now is an assignment completion report. So let's go take a look at protein synthesis. Notice my test account, I haven't logged in, haven't done anything, so I have no check marks. Student number 1 has done the videos and passed the quiz all the way down, but they haven't actually passed the test yet. So hence there's no check mark. They haven't passed it. They passed the quizzes, they passed the assignments, so you got all that good information, just not passed the test. Now, there's a lot more stuff that's available to you. All you got to do is switch it off basic mode. So once you go over to advanced mode, Now you take a look at the reports and things becoming way more detailed. So you can look at test questions by all your classes combined. How do all your students do? What's the most missed difficult questions there are for all your classes? You could do it per kid. And of course, you've already seen this. You can see this for all their attempts. You can come over here and take a test proficiency per class. How are the students all doing? So I've taken one test, right? Protein synthesis. And there's the test right here. This is based upon the pre-assessment and their first attempt. You can do pre-assessment and their best attempt. And then of course, you might be able to, or you will be able to see how much growth is happening. What's their effect size. Come over to a test proficiency and see it by students. So here is the pretest for protein synthesis. And this is what it looks like on their current best scores. All right, let's go take a look at protein synthesis test. So notice our first attempt didn't spend any time. This would be a big hint to me that the student did not take the test seriously and click through it. To finish, you could learn more using our helpful how-to tutorial videos. Go over to the help menu and click tutorial videos. And the benefit of using these is first, if you forget something that we mentioned, this video is in there. But we have many more videos going over all the features of the website. The website is very powerful, feature rich, and we make it easy for you to actually start learning how to use all the features. If you run into any problems or need any help, you can ask us via technical support, or we can report a bug, you can ask for new features. We're here to help you. Thanks for listening.